probability of occurrence is equal to 0, that means it cannot be measured or expressed, then you say the probability of that is equal to 0. Anything lies in between is actually risk. But in a common parlance, we use these two words interchangeably, risk and uncertainty, though technically there is some reason. I always give this simple example. When I deposit my money, 10 lakh rupees in a bank, let us say State Bank of India, which has agreed to give me 10% rate of interest for computational convenience. I'm investing 10 lakhs, 10% is the rate of interest for 1 year. So I'm going to get 11 lakhs, right? What is the possibility?
Yes,
or
sir.
probability? What is the possibility or probability that I'll be getting that 11 lakhs? %, right? So that is where you call it as certainty. Second situation. I have given this particular loan, the amount as a loan to somebody for 14%, or rather let us put it as 15% for computational convenience. So what is the possibility that I'll be getting back 11,50,000? Now you will not say 100%, right? Something less than 100%, then that comes to risk. Now this 10 lakhs, whatever I have given it to my close friend. Now what is the probability that I'll get back the money? Can I estimate the probability? Can we estimate the probability when you have given it to a very close friend, where you don't even have the right to ask him to give back?
Very less, very less.
So you can't make any estimation.
We can't make estimate. We can't make estimation.
Correct. If he gives, you'll be very happy. If he doesn't give, you can't question. So probability of occurrence, you'll take it as 0, right? That is uncertainty. So with this, we will try to proceed further. Whenever there is probabilities, the underlying assumption which we are making is that we know the probability of occurrence in advance. The entire theory of probability, that is the most important thing. What are the events that are likely to happen? We know, but we don't know which event is going to happen. Therefore, we will assign probabilities to the events, and those probabilities are also known to us. With this, we'll be starting our discussion about. Yes, madam.
अभी तो कोई नहीं है, तुम लोग अभी पिंकू है, बस रहने दो, अभी मेरे को तो नहीं खाना है, तो हम लोग तो फ्रूट.
Okay, maybe some crosstalk, nothing to worry about it. Then when there is a probability of occurrence, all of you know it very well that we will look at the expected value of those outcomes. Agreed? Some of you, I mean, why some of you? All of you must be having some fair knowledge about probability, estimation of values and other things, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there is a simple example. If there are two possibilities of occurrence, probability of occurrence of event 1 multiplied with the outcome of event 1 plus probability of occurrence of event 2 and outcome of event 2, then that will be taken as the expected value of the outcome. Correct?
Expected value. Yes.
Yes.
And on the basis of that, we will take the decision. If you have understood this particular concept, then it will become easy for us to go to the remaining part of our prospect theory. Can I assume that all of you are very, very clear about this? 1, we know the outcomes. 2, we know the probability of those outcomes that are going to occur. And 3, the decisions what we are going to make is on the basis of the expected value of the outcomes. So why these things will come into picture? Whenever we are taking a decision and you are going to have lot of alternatives that are available to you at any given point in time, of which you are going to select one alternative thinking that that is the best, which may not be. Yes or no? Please don't mind if I am asking the last person who is there in the chat box, that is Akash. Akash, what is your profession, my dear? Akash? Okay. Tushar? Oh, you are a research scholar. Okay. Can anybody speak like Tushar or Soumya Shri? Because these two people have actually put something in the chat box which actually made me much more, excited, and also at the same time it created anxiety also. Because when we have an expectation, we should meet those
Hello, sir.
expectations also.
Sir, sound is very slow.
I don't know why it is happening. Now also?
Yes, sir. Right.
Maybe some-
It
maybe
is because
some-
of mic.
No, ma'am, it's audible.
Maybe some network issue either from my side
Yeah,
or
yeah,
from
okay.
your side.
You're clear, sir.
It's
Pretty
clear,
audible.
ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Tushar and Soumeshri, I think they are not there. So anybody can respond now.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Keshav, sir. Tell me, sir.
Good morning, madam.
I'm Tushar. Yeah.
Yeah, you made my life little difficult also.
Please
And
tell
thank
me,
you
sir.
for the confidence what you had. But obviously, when you have some expectations, no, then we'll always become little anxious whether we'll be able to meet those expectations or not. All right. Yeah. What are you, madam, by profession?
I work as assistant professor in aided
Okay.
college.
All right. So you are a professor, but had you not chosen this, or probably by the time you completed your post-graduation, you have had various alternatives,
Yes, sir. I had many alternatives. Yes.
maybe a company job, or maybe starting something doing on your own. With all that, you have chosen this assistant professor,
I did not
teaching
have
as a
much,
profession.
sir. I did not have much. Like
Okay.
I had only two alternatives. One is getting into teaching profession, or I would continue with my full-time research.
Okay. And you decided to enter into the teaching profession, right? If I'm not
Because
wrong.
I found that is the best alternative where I could do research and then continue my profession by earning my bread and butter.
Okay. So when you look at it, there are various options that are open, but still you have chosen a particular course of action. Why? You have used that word, bread and butter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You wanted some kind of certainty that is coming into existence, right?
Yes, sir. Because I want to stand on my own leg, and other people would respect me only if I have some value for my money.
Okay. So when you are looking at it from the point of view of gains, your thinking will be something in different lines. When you are looking at the losses or the possibility of the losses, your thinking will be altogether different.
Exactly.
If you-
Exactly.
That is the Prospectarian simple about this. That's all. Very simple.
Thank you, sir.
I think
Thank you so much.
we'll go to the seriously to the topic now.
Yes, sir.
So what is the significance of this? It explains majority of the behavioral patterns in finance. Why? All these days, people were thinking that rational investment, rational investor, perfect capital market. Every time. Have you seen? Various assumptions like approach, or for that matter, any approach you take, their assumption will be perfect capital market, which is not practical anywhere in the world. And when you assume that perfect capital market and then take a decision like CAPM also, CAPM, so these things will not give you the clarity. But in spite of that, you are assuming that this is going to be the case, and accordingly you are continuing with your discussion all these days. This is the first time somebody came out with prospect theory, coming and saying that no, what you are thinking is wrong. There's something else that we have to look into that. That is the beginning of behavioral finance. So what is that it does? It explains the manner in which individual investors behave when they encounter probabilistic alternatives involving some element of risk. And what is the underlying assumption? Probabilities of the outcomes are known. This we have already discussed. So what is the crux of the theory? Different decisions on the basis of potential value is made by the individuals. What is that they are looking at? They are looking at perceived losses and gains, but not on the final outcome. Irrespective of what is going to be the final outcome, what we are going to look at, what we are going to perceive, that is going to make the difference. Now let us have small clarity about this. Final outcome, perceived outcome. So what is the difference between these two? Can anybody explain? Because we are all teachers, so we'll have that discussion mode. One point agenda of talking will not serve any purpose. Can anybody explain what is perceived outcome, final outcome?
Sir, perceived outcome is based on what is the limited information we have
Okay,
at a
sir.
given point of time, whereas the
Agreed.
final outcome, which is something which will happen in the future, nobody can predict
Correct.
that with 100% probability.
Okay, very
So,
good.
on the basis of the information which we have at this point of time, on the basis of that, whatever judgment we can make, that is what is nothing but the perceived value we can attach to the investment.
Agreed, sir.
One is imagination, perceived one is imagination, and the actual one is other.
Excellent.
Yeah, perceived is probabilistic in nature, basically. It's probabilistic in nature. And we base our decision based on the information that we already have and our projections of the future, whatever information that we need.
Okay.
And sir, to add to that, perceived outcome is dependent on the attitude of the decision maker.
Excellent, sir. Very good. That's what
Sir,
I wanted to
perceive.
mention.
Yeah,
Yes,
sir,
ma'am.
sir, perceived outcome is basically influenced by many factors from the individual's point. And final outcome is it like probability of risk into expected outcome?
No, that is again
Probability
that is a
of risk.
perceived outcome, no?
Okay.
Final, it will be something. Either of that will happen. If I am taking the example of only two possibilities.
So can I tell, sir? Just
Yes, please.
according to my imagination,
Yes, ma'am.
starting telling about the Rogerian concept, Carl Rogers theory. We have this theory. We say perceived self, like sometimes we say the real self, and the final outcome is something we call the ideal self. So we
Okay,
expect
very good.
something in our life. We expect something in our life. We have expectations of something, and I want my life to become a billionaire or something like that. That's an ideal self. But
Right.
something what happens is reality will not help you. So my real self won't agree with it. So what happens is that when there is a clash between the real self and the ideal self, we get stress. Similarly,
Okay.
there is more of risk. So what I would like to opine is in a perceived self or perceived here, we can find that perceived outcome we can have more risk, and final outcome we need not get what we expecting.
Fair enough.
Depends
All
on
of
the
you have made my life very, very comfortable.
Also, to add, sir,
Sir, one more thing I want to add, sir. Actually, perception depends upon individual to individual.
Excellent, excellent, sir. So perceived value can change between one person to another person, but final outcome is going to be the same for everybody.
yes, sir. Sir, also
Absolutely.
just to add, sir, that perception changes from person to person, depends on the information available with one person, and it might be different with other person. So
Agreed.
if we assume that the all the investors or all the parties behave in a rational manner and there is a perfect existence of perfect market, and all the factors which will affect the investment or affect the particular variable, for that we have 100% information available regarding all the possible variables, then in that case it might happen that the perceived value might be same as the final outcome.
That is the best thing that can happen. Perceived value and final outcome, if it is going to be the same, you are the most sought after person. But
Yes,
in fact, it will not happen to every one of us. Maybe out of 10, 20 situations, 1 or 2 situations, whatever we perceive may become reality.
Yes, sir,
If you can
definitely.
make it about 7, 8 times, it is becoming reality. That means you are a very, very successful predictor.
So, but the positive psychology is now the studies are done in positive psychology, and positive psychology practices like mindfulness and resilience practices teaches us that if you want to make the real self to ideal self, we should become more mindful. That's what they're saying, and still some clinical exercises and experiments are being done in that area, sir.
Yes, madam. Because the problem here is that quantification. Suppose I'm a very, very rough, or I can say very critical when I say this word. Suppose by chance, by mistake, God comes and appears in front of us, we will not believe that He's a God. Correct, no? Because we have a very strong opinion. People like us cannot see God. And we will ask Him to prove that He's a God, more than anything else. That is the kind of situation which we have, and these are all cognitive. So all these cognitive items lack quantification, and there should be some measures that should be developed over a period of time. So to quantify these kind of methodologies, and probably 5 years down the line when we are going to discuss these concepts once again, maybe we'll be taking either Professor Akhilesh's name or Prashant's name or Tushar's name and say that according to researchers so and so, they have come out with this particular kind of output or outcome. Is it too much of expectation? No. Is my expectation is right or justified? Because I'm seeing that kind of potential in you people. All these points, and you know it very well that Kahneman has got a recipient of the Nobel Prize on this particular topic also. So, Madam Asil Biju. So, I think Mr. Asil. Is my voice okay now?
Yes, sir, but at times it's going down.
Network issues are there, I think, either your side or my side, I don't know.
Sir, it's completely audible.
All right.
Sir, your voice is audible since beginning. I have never missed
Yes,
it,
sir.
so probably it's on the other side, probably.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Agree with you, sir.
So, to identify this, they have done some small experiment. Our Kahneman and Tversky. What is that they have done? They made people into 2 groups and asked the first group to choose between 2 alternatives. What are those 2 alternatives? A certain gain of $900. These values are taken, let me tell you very frankly, these values are taken because diagram was available for these values. That's why I have taken these values. Actually, the real calculation was something different. I'll show that also to you. So a certain gain of $900, a 90% possibility of gaining 1,000 and 10% probability of gaining nothing. Now, first situation, what is the expected value?
$900.
$900, right? There's no question about it. In second situation, 90% possibility of gaining 1,000, 10% probability of gaining nothing. So 0.9 multiplied with 1,000 plus 0.1 multiplied with 0, that also becomes 900.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In the first situation, perceived value, final outcome, both are same, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Second situation, perceived value will be different and final outcome will be different. Perceived value is 900. Final outcome, one side it may become 1000 or on the other side it may become 0. Agreed? If we were to be as being thought of over a period of time as rational human beings, what we should have done, there should not be any difference between option A and option B. All of us should have given equal weightage for both of them. Correct? Agreed, right?
Right, sir.
So this is the value. The diagram is self-explanatory now, so I need not go into the minute details of it. In both the cases, it is $900. Technically speaking, we should not have differentiated between alternative A and alternative B. But there is a red line here. It is indicating that more people opted for this particular option of a sure gain of $900. Why? Let us see in course of time. So what is that? We have to understand now, when dealing with the gains, people are risk aversive and choose sure gain to a riskier prospect, though there is a possibility of earning a larger reward. I think all of you got this particular meaning of the statement. The possibility of you getting 1000 in the second situation is 90%. Very high probability of occurrence. The possibility or probability of you losing is only 10%. If you had got it, you would have got 1000, but still you settled for 900 only because it is certain. Because it is certain, you wanted to avoid the risk, that is risk aversive. So you would like to get away with the risk. You don't want to take that particular risk because there is something which is guaranteed. And majority of us, those who have taken a profession in teaching, we are all risk aversive only. Hope you agree with me. Knowingly or unknowingly, our behavior is risk aversive. We don't want to take risks. Some of us openly may say, some may not say, but ultimately that is the reality of life. The second group has been given same kind of situation, but there it was gain, but here it was about loss. So a sure loss of 900, a 90% probability to lose 1000 and 10% possibility of losing nothing. That means what? 90 odds are there against us and we will be losing 1000. But when you lose it now itself, it is 900 only. For that you can prepare yourself. But we looked at it, the 10% possibility of losing nothing as more attractive to us. In the earlier case, 90% of gaining has not been attractive to us. But here, 10% of losing nothing has become attractive, and then the behavior is like this. Majority of the people have chosen between sure loss and possible loss. They have chosen possible loss. But of course, expected value is the same for both of them. So what has happened now? When it comes to gains, we move towards risk aversion, risk avoidance. When it is loss, we are risk seeking. We are ready to undertake a particular risk. But that research actually caused ripples in the minds of the people. All these days we were looking at something else. And all of a sudden, somebody comes and says that, no, it is not like this. People are behaving like this. Then you would have seen what kind of explanations they would have given and things like that. So when it comes to losses, this is risk seeking, which we have already seen. And look at the statistics here. 84% of the respondents of the first group adopted for the first option, and 69% of the respondents adopted for the second option. So in these two cases, net cash to the respondents is identical, and hence their expected utility was also should have been same, but it is not. Yes, somebody gave some message. What is that? I didn't understand, Dr. Pinky. You have sent something. I'm sorry. So at this point, shall I show you? Okay. Shall I show you the paper that is being prepared by them, or after doing everything, we'll come to that and see? No problem, madam. I can understand. Yeah, any opinion from anybody? One way is that we can see that how they carried on the experiment, or alternatively, first we will complete the theory portion of it and then we will come back to the paper in detail.
So we'll complete the theory part and then come to the paper, sir. That would be better, I feel.
All right, fair enough. So what is that we can notice now? And the first question is, it is in terms of profit. The second question is in terms of losses. Profits are interpreted differently. Losses are interpreted differently. All these days, losses, we were talking about negative profits. If it is being treated as negative profit, the treatment should have been the same, but unfortunately it is not the same. So the risk attitude is not the same across gains and losses, because what matters to people is not the level of wealth, but the change in wealth. Now, if I can ask you, how many of you are in administrative position in whatever the job which you are into? Anybody, any one person, please, as an example. Anybody as a director or maybe head of the department, something like that, where he has the capacity to take a decision about their subordinates. All right, let me give the example of my own example. So when I was in that particular kind of a position, when my subordinate comes and asks me for permission, going here, there, am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So 10, 20 times whenever they ask permission, I have given the permission. But one time I don't give permission. Reasons, maybe the requirement of the institute or whatever it is. Now you know the result, right? Every one of us will do the same thing. Whatever the number of times the permissions are being given, all those things will be removed. And one situation where I have not given the permission only will become the most important aspect, and it will be blown out of proportion. And people start thinking that this fellow is troubling me like anything. Do you agree? Even we would have done the same thing, correct?
Right.
Why? Whatever that is negative, it is more painful than whatever that is positive. That is a problem with all of us. Let us take a simple example. There is a student who has written an examination. 2 examinations he has written. In one, both of them he was expecting 50 marks. Hypothetical example I am giving. When a result comes in one examination, he gets 90. In another examination he'll get about, let us say, 45. So that 40 extra what he has got will not make him happy anymore. The 5 which he has lost will be more painful to him. If it is a rational human being, he should have thought that plus 40 minus 5, so plus 35, so I should be very happy. But it is not. In reality, minus 5 is more painful than plus 40. Agreed? That is all about
Yes,
the
sir.
prospect theory which we are talking about. So the respondent's value of gains or losses is not straight line, not linear. It is a S-shaped value of function. But what is that which we need to understand here? Gain or loss relative to a reference point, not in its absolute value or in its absolute entity. We'll always keep it at a reference and then we will come to a conclusion. Now, when you see this graph, you will be able to understand it better. So the difference in wealth when it comes into that lead to gains part of it, loss part of it, you can see that the angle of occurrence for gain is very small compared to that of the losses. Once you reach a particular level of gains, twice the difference will not give you the same kind of utility or satisfaction. Agreed? But loss is very, very painful. Again, in loss also, once you cross a particular limit of loss, additional loss will not make you the same pain, the quantum of pain, whatever it was earlier, it will not happen. Let me give you a simple example. I think majority of you would have experienced this. And when we buy a new car, and when we have it for about maybe 6 months or something like that, even if a small scratch also will be very, very painful, right? Once there are 4 or 5 scratches, even a dent also will not be painful for us, correct, no?
Yes, sir.
This all of us would have experienced this, correct? Now, why it is like this is the reason which we have taken just now, is that losses are more painful than that of the gains. Now, the question which we need to understand here is utility. What is utility? The moment we use the word utility, the first thing that comes to our mind is public utilities, right? The water servicing body or electricity servicing body. These are all other public utilities. So what is this utility which has a possibility of meeting the requirements of the human needs or satisfying the human needs in simple? But when you talk about this in terms of economics or finance, utility means preferences. Preferences means likeness. That is utility. But in investment, when you are talking about utility, that is the satisfaction that derived from a particular course of action. That is utility. Probably in economics, we will have studied utility indifference curves and marginal utility theory. Correct, no? I still remember my teacher giving me an example. Yes. The first time when you eat the mango, it will be very, very satisfying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But later, subsequently, you eat, that will not give you the same kind of satisfaction, right? That is linear, curvilinear. It is not linear. But this linear from the reference point towards the losses is very, very steep as compared to that of the gains. Hope this S curve is very, very clear to all of us, and we can correlate ourselves with ourselves also. This is the explanation for the curve. People feel good when they gain. Twice the gain does not make them feel twice as good. In the same way, risk also. Somebody has dropped a message.
Sorry, with your permission, can I ask, sir? Sir, this one is contradicting to the situation of your Kannada saying, no, where someone is taking the money from sea, means taking the water from sea and pouring to sea. Means if he is utilizing his own money, then only this prospect will be correct. Otherwise, if he is using some other's money or else he has earned from the market itself, he won't be that much of what we'll call that pain in loss. Will it be correct?
No, not that way, Prashant. You are taking it wrongly, actually. The context, you have taken it little out of the context, actually. So there it was, the context was different. Here the context is that, let us take a simple example. You have invested 1 lakh rupees, and if your portfolio is going to give you 1,10,000, 10% return on that, undoubtedly you'll be happy, right?
Yes, sir.
Now let us assume that this happiness can be measured in some measure as 10 units. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, instead of giving you 10% return, by chance, by mistake, if it falls by 10%, you are having a loss of 10,000 now. This loss of 10,000, if it can be measured in numerical value, gain of 10,000 has given you 10 units of utility. Loss of 10,000 will give you 50 units of pain or 40 units of pain, which is supposed to be something more than 10 units of pain. That is the context in which we are talking about this. Are you getting, Prashant?
Yes, sir.
But what I feel, the area of our graph of this prospect theory, which sir is saying, if that individual, if I am giving that 100 rupees,
Mentioned reference point is mentioned over here. So whether reference point is with respect to some value must be there, or it can be shown from the point of time also. Like in your example, you have given the example of car and scratch. Okay. So let's say for an example, if the stretch mark took place after 6 months, from the day I bought the car, or the stretch marks took place after 3 years from the day I bought the car. So, sir, in this case,
after 3 years, Harsha, only on the lighter side, after 3 years, you have to search for the scratch. Which scratch is the new one?
Yes, sir. So my question is that.
Yeah, sorry.
So my question. Yes, yes. So my question is that whether reference, when we explain or when we are working on prospect theory, so reference point should be taken from the wealth value. That means some value should be there, or it can be explained from the time or with the help of time also.
Not necessarily that it should be value.
Okay.
When you are talking this kind of example, different kind of situations.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. So this part is actually self-explanatory, and the process of explanation we have already done it. So feel good when they gain, but twice the gain does not make them feel twice as good. Correct, no? That means the incremental. Yeah, somebody has a question. Is it possible that reference point may be based on emotions? Reference point will be or can be based on your emotions, Tanya, but only when it is between the relationships. That time, yes, as you said, it will be based on emotions also. But not in a regular investment or something like that when we are looking at it. Hope you got it, Tanya.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So there is a Webb-Fechner law in psychology. What it says is that the noticeable difference in any variable is directly proportionate to the magnitude of that variable. But in fact, when we come to prospect theory, it is not happening that way. Had it been directly, our life would have been very, very comfortable. Probably will not be learning about this at all. But it is not. So the value function is convex for losses. What it means, if people are experiencing a pain when they lose, and twice the loss does not mean twice the pain. The convexity over losses means that people tend to be risk-seeking over losses. They prefer a chance of losing to losing for sure. Let me give you a simple example. Recently, I have noticed this particular kind of a behavior in some person. So the fellow, the example which in the morning session I was giving about the bitcoins. the value has fallen. The logic behind that particular fellow is that value has fallen. Therefore, what I will do, I will invest some more into that. Therefore, my average price has come down and there is a possibility of making good amount in future. Appears to be a little stupid, right? But still, majority of us will be doing this particular activity of averaging. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, completely.
Yes, sir.
So, the value function is cheaper for the losses which we have already discussed, so let us not. So, the crux of this loss, the idea is better safe than being sorry in future. Why? We have been given this particular kind of knowledge from time immemorial. When you are jumping as a small kid, your parents will have said that don't jump, there is a possibility of fall. And if you see that National Geographic Channel, some of the programs, right? You see that why the hell these people are taking so much of risk? Are you not? And what is the common saying our people will be saying? A stitch in time saves two. Think twice before you leap. Correct, no? The very nature has been put into that loss, pain. It is to be taken more importantly than the remaining other things. So these are all some aspects which are important for us to understand. So the expected utility theory, what it says is that there is going to be a variation. Yeah, there is going to be a variation, and that variation is not going to be the same for all kinds of activities or all kinds of utilities. That is the expected utility theory. But our prospect theory says that no, it is not. There is a possibility of changes that will come into picture. Why that will come into picture? The decision weights are going to change. So directly I'll just skip this. Just two more things you'll get. Now you look at this particular diagram. Expected utility theory should have been straight like this, a straight line which you are seeing at 45 degrees, correct? That should have been the expected utility. But unfortunately, the expected utility has been concave and convex in situation. The dotted line indicates the outcome of the research that is being carried on by our Kahneman and Tversky. Are you seeing the diagram?
Yes, sir.
All right. When this will be straight, when we are going to assign equal weightages for both losses and the gains, that line should have been straight. But unfortunately, it is not, and therefore they could see this kind of convexity and concavity coming into existence. So this paper we are going to see if possible to the detailed extent, to the maximum possible extent. So the value function reflects concavity and how it is going to look at it. The overweighting of small probability and concavity convexity of the value function led to fourfold patterns in risk attitudes of the individuals. So that I made it as a simple table so that it will become easier for you. If the gain is profit and the probabilities of occurrence is small, then they will go for risk seeking. The example which I have given, do you remember? What was the probability of profit there? Anybody remember?
Sir, 10%?
10% was the other way. Probability of profit. Probability of profit is 90%, right?
90%.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
So when the profit possibility is moderate or maybe higher, moderate and above, I should have put it like this, then they will be looking at risk avoiding. Then other case, if you look at it, the moderate probability or higher probability was given for loss, right? Remember? %90 possibility for loss. Remember this diagram? I'm sorry. Yeah. So in that case, it has led to risk seeking. So now, when are you going to seek the risk? When profit is there and probability of occurrence is small, then you seek risk. Or loss is there and the probability of occurrence of loss is more, then you will be again seeking the risk. And vice versa. When profit is there, the moderate probability of making profit, then you will avoid the risk aversive. And then small probability, but loss, then also you will be risk aversive. Am I making sense to you?
Yes, sir.
So this is the value function of the... This is the value function that has been developed by Kahneman and Tversky. So value alpha is 0 to 1 and z is greater than 0. All that, let us not go into the minute details at this point in time, so that you will get frightened by looking at this sometimes. This is basically a regression coefficient of the value function, which was little curvilinear. How could you say that it is little curvilinear? Anybody?
Sir, the parameter is raised to beta.
Yes. Power is there. Its power is there. Either quadratic or cubic, so it has to be curvilinear. It's not linear.
Simple common sense logic. When a power is there, it is bound to be curvilinear.
Absolutely.
Let's not bother about it, but it is curvilinear. So now we are going to look at, somebody was asking, what will be the impact of this prospect theory? Application of prospect theory. This is a clear case, and which every one of us would have seen or experienced, as the case may be. So the investors have the tendency to sell stocks that have gone up in value and to retain the stocks that have fallen in value after they have got them. And this is called disposition effect. Why? What is the reason? If you look at the utility, then either profit or loss, it should not have made any difference to us. But prospect theory explains the logic behind that. So what is the logic behind that? Yeah. I have purchased a share for 400 rupees and the share price has gone up to 500. I'll be more than happy to sell it. I purchased the share for 200 rupees and the price has come down to 120. I will not sell it. In fact, in rational thinking, you should have done the other way around. The reason here is that pain, loss is always painful.
Yes, sir. So as long as we don't book the loss, we'll not feel the pain. So we'll try to retain it as long as possible. So till you don't sell it, there is no apparent loss. So you want to retain it as long as possible.
Loss is there, but it is not realized.
It's not realized loss. Yes.
It's something like that. No, when we have body pains or something like that, when we take a paracetamol tablet, immediately we get the relief, right? Correct, no? Yes or no? Paracetamol.
Yes, sir.
Right. Does it mean that pain has gone anywhere? No, pain is there in our body only. It has not gone anywhere. But now our brain has become numb and it is not recognizing the pain. Therefore, we are comfortable. The same thing we are going to do it here also. I sell it only then I realize the loss. Therefore, I will not sell it. I'll keep it as long as it comes back to again the same price. And at least at that particular point, and I'll sell it and then keep happy myself that, yeah, look, I didn't make any loss in this. So that is about disposition effect. I think time available to us is a little small, so I'll be a little fast. Please bear with me. So what is this disposition effect? The reason behind this I've already explained it. The investor sells a losing stock, then the loss is expected to give pain because it's registered. It is not sold, no pain because loss is not registered, as somebody has put it excellently. The second one is a reflection effect. Now, what is reflection? Reflection is the outcomes are opposite in sign. Though the outcomes are of the same size, the rational preferences of the investors may vary according to the prospect theory, and which we have seen very comfortably with the help of this S-shaped the value function. Remember that? Okay, I think time is not good if I'll not wait for your response. So I'll continue. The reversing of risk aversion or risk seeking in case of gains or losses is termed as reversing effect. Yeah, good, Vaishali. Book the profit when it is rising and average out when it is losing. That is the common opinion which everybody is having, and accordingly they'll be behaving. So the next one is pseudo certainty effect. Certainty, what it is likely to happen. Pseudo certainty, it is not going to be certain, but we presume it to be going to be certain. What is that you're going to do? When the outcome is going to be positive, you'd like to avoid the risk. And then you'll make a choice in that direction where you are avoiding the risk. When you are going to make losses, you will take risky choices in order to avoid negative outcomes or to minimize the impact of negative outcomes. Now, how many of you have made an investment in any portfolio or anything like that? Anybody is there who has made an investment in a portfolio? Maybe by mistake, I think. Ankita, there's some request to annotate. Explain it for the time being. Let us see. All right. So the kind of inclination that you are going to choose, thinking that an alternative is going to abolish the risk totally, not reducing the risk, is relating to the future, and which is always a question mark. Am I making sense? That is a pseudo certainty effect. If I have to give you a simple example, all of us who are going to have this, what you call medical insurance, is the best example for pseudo certainty effect. So portfolio, how it is visible, we have already seen. You can go through this slide for a moment so that I'll get a break for 10-15 seconds. And if you have any doubt, please ask me. Yes, Saurav. The risk-return trade-off, as it is being visualized by that utility theory, is bound to be a straight line. But in prospect theory, in reality, we have seen, and we can come to a conclusion that it is not a straight line. Risk-return trade-off is there, but not in the form of a linear equation. Okay. Got it now? Hope this is understandable to you.
Yes,
the slide on its own.
Yes, sir.
And then the next aspect is subjectivity of economic agents. So what it means, different economic agents frame the outcomes of an event in a subjective way in their mind, and therefore the utility they expect or receive is also affected by this subjectivity, which we have already discussed. Each one of us will have our own expectation, our own value mechanism. Because of that, this will come into existence. So, equity premium puzzle describes the reason for higher historical real returns of equities over government bonds. Why? Because government bonds are assumed to be risk-free, and any equity instrument is always risky. There is some disturbance is there. So why equity? Because you know it very well, equity shareholders are the residual owners and all those things you know it very well. So the next one is status quo bias. Status quo means maintaining the level at which they are operating or the current state of affairs. It's something like our Newton's first law of motion, law of inertia. And every one of us will be interested, knowingly or unknowingly, to maintain the status quo. So whenever we are taking a decision, the current state of affairs will be taken as a baseline, and that will be taken as a reference point, and from that the changes are going to be taken into account, and then we will come to conclusions. So the reasons for status quo is, one is loss aversion and endowment effect. So what is endowment effect? People assign more importance to things because that particular thing is owned by them, and therefore assign a relatively greater value. So a kind of ownership will be there, and you try to vouch for that. Then reference-based utility. So the prospect theory states that the utility is reference-based, which is against the concept of additive utility function and majority of the psychological researchers. If you look at the totality, then your prospect or approach will be altogether different. But when you are looking at it from the reference to the change, then the way you are going to look at is going to change. To a person who is not having a job, getting a job itself will become the most important activity. Once he gets the job, there are other things and they're all marginal. He looks at it only at the marginal or the changes level, but not from the point where he is not having any job at all. So the reference point is going to change. But when you look at classical utility theory, you have to actually start from not having a job to the current situation. So what is the limitations? It's assumed that the reference point usually is a status quo or a value equal to 0, but in majority of the cases or studies it revealed that it is not. Prospect theory talks about disappointment or losses, but what, how it is going to be and how the impact can be measured, that cannot be understood with the help of prospect theory as of now. So some people, if you look at this example, some people would not be interested to deposit the money in bank. Rather, I would like to give it to somebody on hand loan or something like that, because the reason appears to be silly, but they say that I don't want to pay more tax. Why? Once I pay more tax, I will be the radar of the government, and there is every possibility that all my transactions may be tracked. So why should I take that particular risk? So disposition effect, which we have already seen. So what is the conclusion? Prospect theory has given a new direction in the new research area. It is only after this theory the importance of behavior has been recognized as a predominant factor in financial and economic research. Now, if I have to say that, or if I can say that behavior in finance is the outcome of prospect theory, there is nothing wrong, which is absolutely true.